Hey everybody, how about that? I welcome to Zenny 62 tonight, minutes after a Thursday night football game that went from looking like it was going to be a blowout to looking like it was going to be really entertaining to looking like, well, what happened, which is the Bengals beat the Baltimore Ravens in Cincinnati. And the Cincinnati Bengals are, perhaps surprising to you, but not surprising to me, 2-0. And when I think of the Bengals and I think of their performance this year thus far, I think of passing Cincinnati Bengals head coach Marvin Lewis in the hallway, one of the hallways at the NFL annual meeting in Orlando this year. And I said, Coach Lewis, are you going to use the read option? And his response was, and I quote, as if to say the popular phrase or his version of it, read option, I don't need no stinking read option. I think over the past two games, Coach Lewis has proven he doesn't need a stinking read option. Hey, everybody. Hey, Travell. Hey, Nick. Hey, John. How you doing? Did anybody see the game? If not, I will give you a recap. The recap is basically this. The Baltimore Ravens, fresh off of a drubbing. You can't call it anything other than what it was. It was an absolute smash. Not a smash and grab, but it was a drubbing, a smashing of the hammering of the Buffalo Bills, which I suppose needed to be hammered considering who they had at quarterback. Looked more mortal against the Cincinnati Bengals, who played faster. And as a result, even though Joe Flacco threw a hell of a game, they lost 34-23. The game went basically, Joe Flacco was 32 of 55 passes. Joe Flacco threw 55 passes for 379 yards, 376 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Andy Dalton started off hot, and he finished with 24-42 for 265 yards, no interceptions, 4 touchdowns. 3 of those touchdowns went to A.J. Green, who was the leading receiver for the Bengals. He wasn't actually quite the leading receiver. It was actually Boyd with 91 yards. Green had 69 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns. His longest game was 32 yards for a touchdown, which is a nice one. And you can't forget the steady receiving hands of Tyler Eifert, their tight end. And Eifert only had 2 for 23. That's interesting. It seems like he was targeted a lot more than that, but he had 2 for 23. His longest was 16. It was in the first half. So he had, I think, Tyler Boyd, the wide receiver, Eifert, Bernard, and also we can't forget the running of Joe Mixon, who's proving to be a steady back for the Bengals. 21 of 94 yards. Longest game was 21 yards. The Bengals defense came up big. They sacked Flacco 4 times, in addition to 2 interceptions. So chalk it up to the Bengals defense. And Rob Iman, how you doing? Raider Matt, how are you doing? Raider Matt, what did you think of the game, Raider Matt? And while I'm waiting for you to type your response, I am going to say to you, I am very disappointed in Oakland Raiders head coach John Gruden, because Gruden is, how do I put it? He's using the media to talk to his players, which is never a good strategy in the modern age. That may have worked for him in the past, okay? But with today's NFL player, I'm just going to say it. You don't antagonize them through the media or use their insecurities like the need for money to, try to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to get the best out of you this way. I'm going to intimidate you, that sort of thing. That has a way of backfiring. And someone, may feel like, well, that voice is good for the Raiders, but I contend that you want to be a teacher and not a bully. And that goes back to the teachings of Bill Walsh, which have stood the test of time and are more appropriate in today's NFL, where a player is just as likely to go off on a coach as a fan. So I don't think it's, excuse me, let me take the I don't think out of my statement. It is not a great idea at all. Marvin Lewis lasts as a coach because of his even keel demeanor. Some of you people, perhaps yourselves, say, hey, you know, why is Lewis there? He's not winning. He's not doing this. But for the most part, he has made sure the Bengals were competitive. But also, he has done a fantastic job of getting players to come into his locker room and perform. Maybe some of his players had, quote, character issues, but they weren't character issues that caused major problems in the locker room, all right? Marvin Lewis is a model for today's coach, shows John Harbaugh. It's not so much that they're players' coaches, but they're patient. They're teachers. They understand how to do that. I'm not sure Gruden gets that so much as the other two coaches that played tonight do. Drew Perkins, how you doing? Rob Ivan says, I'm disappointed that Gruden is already throwing Carr under the bus. Kevin KD says, I never liked the cut of Gruden's jib, I believe. He is a quarterback whisperer, maybe, but not an administrator. Rick Gray says, how is Gruden throwing Carr under the bus? What happened? Hey, Rick, how you doing? And Rick, thank you for contributing to my blog the other day. Kevin KD says, Marvin Lewis is cool like the other side of the pillow. Marvin Lewis has done more than his part in Cincinnati. It's the rest of the organization that needs to step up. And Kevin KD before that said, Bengals offense has been looking pretty good so far this season. Hopefully they play like this all year for Marvin. Rob Iman followed before that. The AFC North looks like chaos this season. It does look like an interesting situation. Now, you asked me. I was trying to get the thing to play here. So as far as the thing I was talking about in terms of what Gruden said, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type John Gruden and then see if I can find that video. I've got this plugged in. And let's see here. Oakland Raiders head coach seeking answers for lack of deep passing game. Let's see here. John Gruden looking for Raiders to dial in deep passing attack. Well, you know what? In order to dial in a deep passing attack, you've got to design one that works, right? Just saying. I am looking for a decent video to run or play. Excuse me here. See if this works. Does the trick. Hold on a second. Maybe I can get lucky here. And all right, I believe. New head coach. Here's what he said about Amari Cooper. All right, here we go. Who had just one catch for 9 yards. You look at the film. We had him wide open deep. We didn't go. Okay, I got that. I want to hear Gruden. I don't want to hear this person. Heck, if that's the case, I might as well say it. All right, so that's not going to fill the bill. I don't want that. Let me see. That's disappointing. Although it is a kind of a focus of, you know, what I want to achieve here in terms of Derek Carr. Let's see here. Oakland Raiders head coach John Gruden appears to call out Derek Carr. Let's see if this is it. And let's see here. Click here for audio. This is NBC Sports. I'm going to move from ESPN to NBC Sports. Okay. That is, I'm waiting for this commercial to clear out. Otherwise, what you're going to hear is because someone is driving a race car, right? Okay, so that's gone. Let's see what we got here. Oh, no, not again. Oh, seriously? This is not working. Wait a minute, try that.
50 minutes after the hours, Pro Football Talk Live. I recall very vividly when John Gruden emerged
I'm sure you
the
do.
leading candidate.
All right. So another talking head talking about Gruden.
Because he believed that you could
Not what I want to hear. I don't want to hear Mike Florio. Okay? I don't want to hear Mike Florio about this. What I want to hear is what Gruden supposedly said. Let me go see if I can go to the Raider website. I went to the Raider website earlier. It didn't seem to have anything from Gruden up. So since I prefer video. The reason why I prefer video is I don't have to interpret what somebody else said about what somebody else said, right? Right? I hate that. Don't you hate that? If you don't hate that, you should hate that. I hate that. I just hate that. Press conference, practice clips, most recent videos. Raiders coach John Gruden discusses the return of Martavis Bryant, September 14th. Let's see if this works, all right? Try this one. Okay, folks, maybe this is pay dirt. You think? It better be, because I know that you're tired of waiting on me to get it, and I'm tired of...
We're the Salmon Sisters. This new surface.
I don't care about the Salmon Sisters.
I do all of the art and design work, and Claire's behind all of the business.
All right, I have to shut down the Salmon Sisters and wait for that commercial to play out. Here we go now with what I want to hear. All right, here we go. All right. Now.
Well, I think he's in a good place right now. I think he's
talking about
healthy.
Martavis Bryant.
Ready to go. As I said, when we made the trade to get him, when he's right, he can be a difference maker. And we're hoping that he can be
here we
one.
go. Look at this.
Very excited to have him back and have that threat of that speed. He can do things that just other people just don't do, you know.
Fast player, deep threat, really take the top off the defense. And so we're excited about that. He's a guy who's really going to help open things up for us. Just another playmaker, someone who's very obviously dynamic with the speed and can stretch the field. Put in the time obviously the last few months here through offseason training camp, and it's good to have him back.
In terms of his assignments, we're going to give him plenty of opportunities to play, yes.
Okay, so that's Martavis Bryant. Let's see if we have anything in the
they got some talented, pass rushers with Irvin, a guy played, being with Seattle for a long time, and some of those other guys, big, strong, long guys that rush the.
Click on that one. So I don't have the actual video, but apparently it says Gruden appears to call out Carr. So let me go back another place and find it. It says, "Hail Zenny Raiders, any Raider Stadium news? The Las Vegas Stadium Corporation is going to use outside energy source for the stadium, and they are scheduled to use up to 16 million megawatts of power, something like that. That's about 6 million over what was used in the previous, 2 Super Bowls ago. So, I felt I was going to present it, but that was maybe too technical to introduce to a lay audience without really distilling it. So I'm still working on that one, but that's the new news. The stadium is coming along. They say August 1st, 2020, the projected completion date, but that's contractual. That's also the Review Journal, so take it with a grain of salt. The date that I'm waiting for to then look at where the stadium is at is Christmas Day. And the reason is that there's actually a photograph I have of a kind of schematic of the stadium under construction and what it looks like, or what they project it's supposed to look like by that time. So I want to look at that versus what's actually there, and then we can see exactly where we're at. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, so let me just put this back here and go back and talk about Gruden in the comments and everything else. The Raiders didn't have anything on there. Let me see Raiders, Gruden. I'm trying to find the video. And Carr and here's Gruden, Carr. How about the Broncos? Yeah. So John Gruden, Derek Carr praised Von Miller. John Gruden's return to Oakland turns into dud after fast start. John Gruden talks for Martavis Bryant. Week 2 matchup. That was 2 days ago. Gruden recaps Monday's training camp. Can't seem to find it. Raiders Gruden. Here's New York Post. The John Gruden Derek Carr honeymoon is ending quickly. Derek Carr's decision-making under the microscope after Raiders loss. All right, I got enough. All right, let me read what the New York Post is reporting because chances are, Jacqueline Hendricks, don't know who she is. I thought maybe I'd see Gary Meyer. Don't. But anyway, he's actually in the New York Daily News. Okay, so scrolling down. Can't scroll down. You know why? Because there it is. Okay. The New York Post is saying, after watching the film from Monday's 33-13 loss to the Rams, in which Derek Carr threw 3 interceptions, head coach John Gruden had some suggestions for his quarterback. Wide receiver Amari Cooper was open deep. He was open a couple of times. For whatever reason, we didn't go there. And we're trying to find that line together, Carr said in regards to adjusting to Gruden's offense. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Look, I said it the night of the game. Afterward, I'll say it again. Derek Carr has a footwork issue. Okay? I'll repeat. Derek Carr has a footwork issue. And the way what happened is that he threw off his back foot on 3 occasions, and the third actually helped contribute to the interception. It was also a lazy touchdown throw. That was the pick 6. The second interception was a floater that can only happen when you throw off your back foot, and that's exactly what he was throwing like that. Okay, so they need to work on his stride, and the best way to fix the mechanics there is to take a piece of rope, tie it to his ankles, okay, and then the rope is about the length of what should be for his height and leg spacing, a distance that just keeps his legs under him, but allows him, but then you emphasize him getting used to striding as much as he can, rather than throwing off his back foot. When you throw off your back foot, it means you're not completing your stride. Okay, and that's what he was doing a number of occasions in the second half. Now, as to why he was doing that psychologically, I don't know. Is it some sort of bad habit that he? I think I just popped into my head because he didn't do that last year. The question is there some type of bad habit that he has launched into based on something or some way they were coaching him, which undoubtedly is related to footwork as required for a particular play in their playbook or set of passing plays, okay? I would bet that's the case. And since I would bet that's the case, it means they have to basically change what they're telling him to do in the particular plays they're calling. Because when he's executing it, it's causing a consistent problem. The problem of Derek Carr throwing off his back foot and causing those turnovers is consistent. Therefore, it's diagnosable. Therefore, it's fixable. John Gruden needs to really I'm going to say this really bluntly, shut up going to the media and talking about him and fix the problem. He needs to work on being a technician, Coach Gruden does, and not a mouthpiece for the media. Nobody needs that. So, and I say that. So, Jay Perkins says, you are so right. I've been saying this for years. He throws better on the run and out of the pocket. I've seen this kid play at Fresno State. Hey, Tom Keller, how you doing? And John Davis says, I think Gruden will give Carr every opportunity to be a top quarterback, but if Carr continues to run scare, I don't think he makes the team next year. Hopefully Carr will step up. I know he can be great. Rob Iman says, could it stem from the injury a couple of seasons ago? Tom Kohler says, I think the problems are mental for the most part. He is afraid of getting hit. I don't know I don't think he's afraid of getting hit. I think and I really look, it's garbage in, garbage out. Derek Carr, and we've talked about this before, only does what a coach tells him to do. Therefore, because he said so on an interview on my YouTube broadcast, okay, he says, I only do what they tell me to do. All right. And you want proof? Hold on a second. I'll get it for you. So, right, Derek Carr. Okay. And video. YouTube interview. YouTube. There it is. And let's see here. Crazy how interview Raiders. Google has got to straighten out. There it is. There it is. I found it. Okay. All right. Going back to August 15th.
Write anything on your computer. You
No,
need to
I
get
don't want the
I write pretty
commercial
much
to play.
all day.
What am I saying? That's money in my pocket.
That sucks, man.
I'm not going to pay the whole thing. Just you need to.
We can do a lot of things, So whatever he calls, that's what we'll do.
You remember the read option?
Okay, here. This is when. Let me set the stage for what you're about to hear. For those of you who may not have heard it before, this is after the Arizona Cardinals game preseason, August 2015, August 30th, and Bill Musgrave was the offensive coordinator for the Raiders. He was experimenting with elements of Chip Kelly's offense, the read option. He was also installing some of Tony Franklin's plays from what was being used at Cal at the time under Sonny Dykes with Tony Franklin as the offensive coordinator. I asked him about that, but I want you to hear what he says, okay? This is Derek Carr. Okay, I'll blow this up full screen so you can hear it.
And I'm going to fix that. I'll get that fixed, put on me, and get it right.
Mr. Carr, what's the main difference between the design of this year's offense versus last year's offense?
It's hard to say. There's obviously in the NFL, a lot of people carry the same concepts, and they maybe just call it something else. But I don't really think there's too much major of a difference. We just go out and whatever coach calls, that's what we're going to do. We can do a lot of things. So whatever he calls, that's what we'll do.
And that's it. Okay, hold on a second.
Bring the read option more this year because Coach Musgrave mentioned bring elements of Chip Kelly's offense into this offense.
If he wants to, yeah. If he wants to, I'm all for it. But that's up to him and when they get their staff meetings.
Okay, so that's my point. He just says, "Hey, look, we'll do whatever they tell me." He's a soldier. He wants to make his coaches happy, right? And he wants to execute what he's taught to execute. Players are like that, and the reality is different from the media portrayal of a player as that renegade from the 70s out there drawing up plays in the dirt and executing them. That was true to a degree for the Ken Stablers and the Burt Joneses of the world. Dan Pastorini, I think less so, but Stabler was the common example, as was Terry Bradshaw, although Chuck Noll would sneak a play in there once in a while. Roger Staubach with Tom Landry and Dallas Cowboys was different. They were sending in the plays, shuttling quarterbacks. That was considered different than the norm. Then the quarterback called the plays. The quarterback manipulated where the wide receivers would go. All right. And I think, Terry Bradshaw said it best in his Hall of Fame speech where he said, John Stallworth says, I can beat my man on a post. And, Lynn Swann said, I can beat my man on a deep curl. Okay. So that's how it went in the huddle. Today, it's different. And so today you have automatons to a degree. Gruden says he wanted Carr to be the CEO, give him more to think about. Well, it's fine to give a person more to think about, but you got a finite amount of time within which to have that thought done. And if you don't have your audible calls designed just so that you can make quick calls, quick changes to the line of scrimmage, if you don't have a system where you can go no huddle the entire drive with nomenclature that's appropriate for that, you're sunk. And so the question is, does Gruden have all that in place? And right now, the answer seems to be no. Okay? The answer seems to be no. It's something I was really quite concerned about. Mile High Raider says, I'm wondering what is going on. I thought we were going to see more of Amari Cooper. And then he says in the latest Amari Cooper interview, he says he's working on NFL players drop. He's sending a message to other teams, something like that. Luis Barrera says, nice. Martavis Bryant is back. Matchups got to be in there. John Collins says, Denver linebacker Von Miller said today or yesterday that the Raiders have best offensive line in the National Football League. Not too sure about that. Well, but you have to remember, John, you're not going to find NFL players saying exactly what they think about their opponents anymore. More often than not, because they don't want to give locker room or what's called billboard material, although I don't think they use billboards much at all like they used to, but because it's an electronic age. But you don't want to give a comment that I think is more appropriate to say social media material, right? So you're not going to hear a lot of that, which you might think is really on this person's mind in terms of, for example, where the offensive line schemes are vulnerable and so on. And Ed says, oh, wow. I missed that, Ed. Oh, let's see here. Sorry, Ed, I'm going back to get your comment, Ed. So then, okay. Oh, Ed says used to playing in guns and agreed. Yeah, Ed says, oh, wow, it would be good for a few years. I think it's going to backfire. Arturo, how you doing? Arturo says Carr wins week 2, bounces back after week 1 game calling it. Okay, but Arturo, that's fine. The question is, why does he bounce back? It's not a guessing game. Remember, this is Zenny 62. It's not a matter of being right or wrong. It's a matter of understanding why you're right or wrong. Big difference. Okay, explain to me why you think that's going to happen. Ed says, because I have no call on it. I can see it coming out either way. All I know is that you have some Broncos, most notably Marquette King, who said, who's John Gruden? Which kind of gives you a feel for what's going to happen. And let's see here, Dre Perkins got that one. And let's see here. I'm trying to make Tom Kohler says, I think the problems are mental for the most part. Ed said, you said it, Rob, about could it stem from the history of the injury? Okay, I got that. Hey, G. Taylor, how you doing? G. Taylor agrees with Tom regarding the problems being mental. Rob Iman says Carr could find himself in Tampa Bay if he continues to struggle. Rob Iman says, or New York Giants. John Davis says, I don't think Tampa Bay is where he's going. Jameis Winston's going to come out and he's going to take an already great offense and make it super. Jameis Winston, here's my prediction. Jameis Winston will come back and he will pick up during the regular season where he left off during the preseason. We was playing lights out passing. If you thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was good in the offense, you just wait. Okay. And the reason why I say that is based on what Jameis, 2 reasons. Jameis is spiritually up against the wall, he thinks. He's got everything he wants personally. Wife to be, baby on the way, nice house. You know, his personal life is set. It may not seem like that based on what you were told, but it actually is that way. Jameis Winston now can focus on football and get back to being the chosen one. I don't know how many of you saw Jameis Winston at Florida State before people realized, hey, this guy is really, really good, but he was really, really good. He was freaky good, okay? And the electorate of football, if you will, acts as if Jameis Winston doesn't have that in him anymore. Anyone who thinks that is making a gigantic mistake. I mean, gigantic. All he needs around him, and Tampa Bay seems to have built, is a good supporting cast of people, better coached than before. Todd Monken calling the plays rather than Dirk Carter was a great idea. All right, moving forward. Let's see here. John Davis says the Browns are always looking for another quarterback. Luis Barros says he says flat throws no arc when you are. What? I can't seem to read that. Okay, some of that mathematics stuff leads to overhead defenders, head right in the catchers. I can't read that. Sorry, Lucy, doesn't make any sense. Arturo says Carr is the magician. No need to panic, people. He's great leader, winner, and clutch. I think too much is placed on him. All right. Kevin KD says Rob Carr to the GMs would be very interesting. Let's see, to the G-men. Carr to the G-men would be interesting. You guys are ready to ship him off already. Hey, you know what? I said that Carr should not be the chosen one years ago. And y'all, oh, he's great. Oh, leave him alone. Now that Gruden is saying something bad about him, you're all ready to dump him. Some of you. My feeling is this. Focus on my advice. Focus on the scheme, not the quarterback. Again, Carr only does what Gruden tells him to do. Therefore, the question is Gruden teaching him the right way? My argument is a flat out no. Okay? Flat out no. John, if you're listening to this, spend less time, and I hope you are. Look at me. Spend less time. In fact, how about this? Spend no time talking to the media and all your time looking at this guy's footwork with respect to the play and the line. Also, John, you need to move the pocket with Carr. And I don't mean the play action bootlegs. I mean just sprint outs. Sprint outs with shotgun. Shotgun, 2 steps, one way or the other. Okay? I say one way or the other, but with respect to whether you're going to design a weak side passing attack or a strong side passing attack, depending on the defense. You might also consider experimenting with what I call an offset offensive line. And it's not what you're thinking, but that's another story. My point is you need to focus on the techniques of what he's doing, because the more I hear you talk about him, the more I think, yeah, John, I just don't think John is really thinking rigorously. All right? Rigorous thinking will solve the problem, not rigorous mouthing toward the media. Do that, and you will succeed. Just that's some advice, John. And I hope you hear this. Okay. So now, Kevin KD says Rob Carr to the G-men would be very interesting. John Davis says hopefully Carr was telling the truth when he said he tried to let up on the pass because of that landed right in the defender's hands. Kevin KD says, he says he tried to let up on the pass, but the whole point is when he made that adjustment, he was like this, okay? I don't care if he let up on it. My concern is his body position. And when you're this, it means you're throwing off your back foot. As opposed to here, okay, where you're throwing off your toes. When I say throwing off your back foot, I mean off your heel. Not your rear foot, but off your heel, as opposed to pushing through the pass. The best deep ball is the one that is thrown where you're not aiming the pass with your head. It's thrown where your eyes are focused on the target, that is the receiver downfield. You let your body take the ball where it needs to go. Your body will do the work. And if you see a lot of when people throw like that, when they try to heave it like that, it means they don't have any confidence, no matter how strong they are, that they don't have any confidence in their body's natural ability to get the ball to the target. So the best way to overcome that is to have the quarterback simply throw without moving his head. Just keep his eyes on the target, okay? Without moving his head up. Just don't aim the ball when you're throwing deep. Just keep it on the target. Keep it on the guy running downfield, all right? And then throw. If the ball falls short, then you continue to work out. You say maybe it's, shoulder, your mechanics. Keep throwing until it gets there, because you will adjust your body's musculature to execute that pass, all right? Peyton Manning was the master at this. He threw the best pass I've ever seen a single quarterback throw in my entire life. Monday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens, 2005, during his record-setting year. And it was the Colts' first play from scrimmage. It was, I believe, a 64-yard touchdown pass to Harrison. Okay, Marvin Harrison. It was a thing of beauty. The most beautiful aspect of it is the ball didn't travel long in flight. And it hit him right in stride, and Marvin Harrison, cruised right in the end zone. That is the textbook example for how a deep pass should be thrown. Okay? Watch Peyton Manning's head. I played that over and over and over again. All right? So, continuing here. Kevin KD says, I doubt Carr will fit in Vegas for the brief time that the Raiders are there. Mile High Raiders says, Ed Reed needs to be we need to be one team first. Jason, oh, sorry, not Ed Reed. Jay Boogie says he has to overcome coaching, talking about Carr. Jim asked, does anyone know how much it would cost the Raiders to get out of the contract with Derek Carr next year? I heard it's only $8 million. I'll find out for you. Not now, but I will find out for you for the future. So I'll find out for you for Sunday, okay? Because tomorrow's Friday and I'm off, and then again Saturday I'm off. John Davis says, yeah, I heard something like $7-something million against the cap versus $20 million if he stays on the team. Everyone needs to lay back on Gruden and Carr relationship. Barely one game. Talking about Oakland Raider news, I disagree. And the reason why I disagree is because, look, in any relationship you have with anyone, you say it's one game, it may be 1 week. Could be a new boss, right? And already this friction. And really, frankly speaking, it's been longer than a week. It may have been 1 week, one game, but you have to remember, these characters have been with each other for several months now. And so they've had enough time to get to know each other under different situations. But this is the one that matters the most. And what you're looking at, and what John has to realize that he's showing, is how he responds to an adverse situation, which this is. If your objective is winning and you're losing not just a game, but you lost the game big time, then this is an adverse situation. How does he come out of it? How does he conduct himself? If he goes to the media, Coach Gruden, and he makes it sound like there's something wrong right after a catastrophic loss, and he makes it sound like it's something wrong with a quarterback that he's responsible for teaching, it cannot produce any kind of confidence in what he's doing. Let me put it this way. You wouldn't go, if you're trying to raise money for an organization, your company, your startup, you're not going to go to an angel investor. You're not going to go to a venture capital presentation and then trash your staff members saying, well, our programmer's for crap. Our programmer didn't understand this and that. Because, look, you are the CEO. You make the hiring decisions. You're not giving them any reason to invest in your organization. So from that perspective, why should we allow John Gruden to talk the way that he does? It gives me no comfort, no confidence that he can get the job done for the Raiders when he's sounding the panic button himself by saying, oh, I've got a problem here, and this guy needs to do this, and that guy. Win the next game, it's not just out of luck. It's because, in part, what the other team did or did not do. Okay? But I know one thing. I don't hear the Broncos panicking. The Broncos are walking in with a win. It's an AFC West battle. And they've got people on their organization that once worked for the Raiders that, basically have a bone to pick. That's a bad sign. MKD says, Jeff George had an incredibly sweet spiral. I remember in a documentary, one of his former receivers said that he does not throw the ball. He teleports it. That was cool. Dave Begano says, yep, Carr threw that great pass last year to the front corner of the end zone and a touchdown to Crabtree against the Chiefs. A what is it? A deliberate sprint out. Yep. And Citron Count says, why want to get rid of him so soon? Who you got that up to take his place? And I agree with Citron. I agree. You're absolutely right. I don't think this should be, a getting rid of Derek Carr situation. Jack Barr 24, how you doing? Jack Barr writes, I got us losing by a field goal. Arturo says, when Carr was drafted by the Raiders, I was so excited. Jim and Steele the draft. I hope he realized he retires as a Raider. Derek Carr is the truth. Raiders were lucky to draft him. I just hope the Raiders don't treat Derek Carr like they didn't, because they paid Derek Carr, but they didn't pay Khalil Mack. Okay. John Mark says, looks like the Broncos may go 2-0 this coming weekend, guys. I'm going to pick this game as a pick 'em, and I'll tell you why. The return of Martavis Bryant. And my assumption that Gruden does the smart thing and basically draws an arrow from Bryant to the end zone, right? Makes the game plan really simple, puts him on a go route and says, play action from out of the I formation with Marshawn Lynch, slight roll to the weak side with the fullback, blocking just outside the offensive tackle, and Lynch going out to the flat. Hopefully the play where Carr stops just to the point inside the offensive tackle. Have Bryant at split in, have him just run. That side just run. And throw it. And let the defense deal with it. But throw it as I was instructing. It's a fast dude. So, and also play fast. Do you notice with the Bengals game that how fast they played? They, in the first half in particular, they really got off the ball fast. They played fast. Everything was fast. They caught, the Bengals did, the Ravens caught really off guard and off balance. The Ravens didn't know what hit them. Next thing you know, they were like up or down by 21-7. So Kevin KD says Carr has the abilities, but there's a player that needs to be coached properly to succeed. Rob Iman says, I think the Niners will crush the Lions. Hey, so Rob Iman, and this is a question for all of you right here. Yes or no question. How much of the 49ers loss was about how good the Vikings are? Was it how good the Vikings are? If it is that, yes. Or is it that the Niners are not as good as we thought it were? In that case, say no. So if it's the Vikings, say yes. Niners, no. I'm going to put a Y in. Y means yes. Right here. Yes. Okay. Love. Rob Iman says, yep. Vikings. Jack Barr says no. We have 5 yeses to 1 no. 2 no's. Rob Iman says the mistakes are fixable. Yes. So this is a case of the Vikings being that good, not the Niners being bad. All right, so here's a question to follow up on that one. Are you willing to say the Vikings are the NFC representative in the Super Bowl right now? All right. And I will say right now, I'll put a Y in. Why? Because they look complete. Well, okay, but then so the Tampa. I'll say why, but it doesn't mean they're the only possible representative. They in Tampa right now. Not a nose. You guys are saying the Rams. Everyone says no. I get Rams all the time. Rams. Okay, so all right. So basically, you're telling me the Raiders are not that bad, and the Rams are that good, right? Because I'm not buying the Rams as being that good just yet. I mean, a lot of people who want to go on the Rams bandwagon for whatever reason, for some, legitimately solid reasons. I'm just not one of them. I believe the Rams are eminently beatable. And I believe it because I don't see them doing anything innovative. I've seen them playing good technical football, which is a large part of it, isn't it? But I don't see them being the team that has the ability to just plain grab another organization by the throat schematically and executionally and get that win. Because if they were that team, they would have been the Super Bowl this year. They weren't. Okay. I'm not seeing that. Now, of course, some of you were saying, well, gee, they didn't have Aqib Talib. They didn't have the mix. I get that. But then it goes back to my other question. Are the Rams that good or are the Raiders that bad? You're telling me the Rams are that good. That's what I hear from a lot of you. John Mark says Rams may look awesome, but yet suspect team this coming year. Luis says Cook destroyed their safeties. Melvin Lovejoy says Vikings and Eagles. John Mark says Raiders are just bad. Zenny. Rick Gray says, so how did the Rams score 23 unanswered points in the second half against the Raiders? You tell me, Rick. You tell me. That's why I asked you the question. Are the Rams that good or are the Raiders that bad? All right. Which is it? I tend to think the Raiders were that bad because it's a coaching issue that's fixable. When I say the Raiders are bad, it's not like, oh, you're just bad, you just can't improve. It's fixable. All right. These issues are fixable. Sean Grogan, how you doing? Sean says, too early to tell. Best team doesn't always win. Hottest team at the right time usually does. Very smart comment. Very smart comment. Rob Iman says a combination of both. Whoosh something or other says the Rams aren't invincible, but they do have outstanding talent, and they are going to get better. Rams are just good. Melvin Lovejoy says Raiders will snowball. John Mark says Raiders D just broke down in the second half. You think they were tired? You think they were missing Khalil Mack? Rick LaFleur, yeah, I do. Rick LaFleur says, I think Carr gives them a short field and turnovers gifts. John Davis says Carr fell apart, but Rams still looked that good. Rob Iman says Gruden is going to be the Donald Trump of head coaches if he isn't careful. Well, he is a Republican. And Rick LaFleur says Del Rio gifts. Rick Gray says Raiders are what? Raiders are bad, and Rams started running the ball, which opened up the passing game. Rams have really good running game. They do, Rick Gray. They were well-designed running game. Earth says, what are your thoughts on Gruden disliking Reggie's draft picks, i.e. Carl Joseph? I think a part of that mix is spending. And I always think about the Las Vegas budget, and I still come back to this. The Raiders don't have a lot of money. Okay? How else to explain why the Raiders would go after Nada soon, right? Who eventually signed with the Rams for a year and $14 million, and yet balk at signing Khalil Mack, let alone making him an offer. It doesn't make any sense unless, of course, you have a head coach that comes in and says, I want Sue. But then realizes, as Sue did, we can't afford him because of these really tight budget constraints, tighter than normal. All right? The Raiders are not going to say, look, we're saving money for Las Vegas. So I don't want some so-called journalist coming up and telling me, well, they don't say that. Of course they're not going to say that. Are you stupid? Give me a break. What passes for media today is ridiculous. People just running these gossip mills. Well, I got to get somebody to say something. How about a little thinking, a little numbers crunching, okay? A little bit of the old-fashioned media when the media had investigative journalists and they're actually, taking a stand. Oh, okay. John Mark says Skunk is in the Raiders locker room. Family Love says, what do you think about the Chiefs' offensive weapons? I think the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, who's Lee Steinberg's client, and I got to get Lee on the show again, and Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I love how Andy Reid, the head coach, uses his little things that he does to take advantage of the big things that they do. For example, notice that Tyreek Hill never seems to be in the same place. Sometimes he's a slot. Sometimes he's a split end. Sometimes he's at flanker. I'm waiting for him to put him at fullback, then leave him there. Patrick Mahomes was a head scratcher to people because Mahomes came out of an air raid offense at Texas Tech. And this is a credit to Lee Steinberg for marketing him. Lee saw in Mahomes an arm that he felt could make a difference with the team, and he was smart to get him to the right person, Andy Reid. Andy saw enough potential in Mahomes to take a chance, to get rid of a veteran and put this second-year guy in and give him the keys to the car, as it were, right? But when you do that, it means that from a schematic perspective, you have to draw plays that take advantage of what they do, not just a few times, but often. Some coaches will take a player's special skills and not employ them. I mean, let's take the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. The Ravens still have it in their head that Lamar Jackson is this fast black guy. That's how they're presenting him. He's a fast black guy. Well, I'll put him at slash. I'll put him at receiver. Maybe I'll put him at wildcat quarterback or something like that, as opposed to a quarterback around which should be designed a set of 47 plays that are unique to what he can do. Most notably, sprint plays, where the option to run is there, but it calls for short, quick passes with the option to throw deep, the alert always available, there. But then also mixed in with some of the read option passing. The Ravens don't have read option passing systems. What do I mean by that? The off tackle play that includes the slot back that goes in the seam that we saw with Chip Kelly. He brought to the league and made very effective, and then everybody has some variation of it today. It seems everybody has some variation of it today, except the man that I'm talking about, okay? It doesn't seem like Marty Morningwig installed that in the Ravens offense, and that's to Lamar Jackson's detriment. As far as I'm concerned, Lamar Jackson has regressed in not in that he's not performing well. The system and what he's being asked to do, does not take advantage of what he can truly do well. It's stereotype. It's the black guy running quarterback system as opposed to the Lamar Jackson quarterback system. And there is a light year of difference between the two. Okay. So the Raiders says, won't happen. They don't want you guys tailgating. Another lie. Mark Davis said, held against Denver. He's talking about the Vegas thing. Mile High says Carr was being can't we bring back Odd Streeter? John Acala says, I hope Brian doesn't get suspended. I think he can really help the Raiders passing game and open up field more with his speed. There's a lot to that we don't know. I'd like to find out more about that because he puts out these hints, Brian does, on his Instagram page, which leave me thinking that we were led to accept the idea that his suspension was imminent, but he was working behind the scenes on whatever details that were able to be worked on to prevent that in such a way that it didn't happen. So now he puts out the message that, hey, you know what? I'm fine. I don't know what's wrong with you, but I'm fine. We don't know what the details were. So I pray for the young man, because the media of today, unless of course you control your own media, doesn't get the story right. More athletes should control their own media. They should own their own media companies, or, but rather than relying on somebody else. All right, moving forward. It is now 1:34. I'm going to stop in 10 minutes and get to bed. So Kevin KD says, I've never been a fan of the Ravens offensive scheming, with the exception of the brief time when they had Jim Caldwell as the offensive coordinator. When Flacco got hot and the Ravens won the Super Bowl. Yeah, Caldwell did a fantastic job. And, how about the Lions not having Caldwell at the helm? Big mistake. Luis says Aaron Rodgers proved that he was worth the money. The Packers paid him. Derek Carr has not proved he was worth the money. For the Raiders, paid him to get rid of Khalil Mack for. Well, Luis, I disagree. Derek Carr will not succeed unless John Gruden fixes his footwork, because Derek Carr is too much of an automaton, get along guy to basically say, the coach isn't fixing me the way that I need to be fixed. Therefore, I'm going to take the reins and be responsible for how I'm coached and what plays I run. He doesn't have that kind of power. So unless Gruden stops with the media comments about him and works on fixing the mechanics of the Derek Carr passing game, Derek Carr will be doomed. Okay? The Raiders need to come out, no huddle, play it for the entire first half, which would scare the bejesus the Broncos defense, not to mention being very effective in putting them up, have a couple of touchdowns. I'm wincing because I don't have faith that John will do that. I just don't. I certainly hope I'm wrong. Greg says Carr thrived under Musgrave because Musgrave focused on teaching Carr better footwork and pocket presence. And Family Love says Lions run game is weak. Falcons says, will the Falcons beat Carolina on Sunday? I'm gonna pick the Carolina Panthers to come in and smash the Falcons. I have no love for the design and execution of the Falcons offense as I've seen it under Sarkisian. Okay. Hopefully it changes. I know one thing, it's an exciting game that's coming up. Maybe I should go. Okay, it's 1:37. I'm going to bid everybody a good night, because I can check your comments all night long, which would be fun. Yeah. But I want to bid you all a good night. And see you on Sunday. Same bat time. Well, actually, earlier bat time, which is the norm, but definitely the same bat channel. All right. As John Marks would say, watch horror films, keep America strong. All right. Good night, everybody. I'm going to write good night in here soon. Good night. See you guys. Thanks a lot. See ya.